Well, thank you, Lindsay, for this opportunity. And already, thank you so much for just pointing me in the right direction with grants, because that is something that I am learning. So my name is Nikola Reinfelds. I took over Stork Support of Northern Colorado in 2021, well, the end of 2020, and then 2021 worked to file our 501c3 while I had a newborn and a kindergartner. My firstborn was in online kindergarten, which
All
was
right.
a lot of
To do
fun.
during that time,
Yeah,
lockdowns and
yeah. And then my middle child, we called it winging it preschool. So it was an interesting time, but we filed and were awarded our 501c3 in March 2021. I opened our garage to Stork Support in April of 2021. So yeah, I'm a stay-at-home mom of three, but I've done a lot of things in my life. I actually came to Northern Colorado by way of Long Island, New York, born and raised in Kansas. So I feel like I've lived already so many lifetimes. um, in New York, I ran a very successful business. I was a territory manager, and my territory ranged from Brooklyn, Queens, to part of Long Island. So I felt strong that I'm like, okay, I really do think like if you can do it in New York, you can do it anywhere. Like if you can make it there.
absolutely.
um, and so I was like, I know I have the business acumen, but I am learning every day. Nonprofit is a different world from for profit, and it's a delicate balance. There's a lot of learning because there's so much of my heart. So Stork Support is a
Great,
community.
you're applying all of those skills to help people and to
Yeah,
keep Stork Support going.
yeah. So we're a committed community that believes every new family is worthy of a strong start through support. Support in our culture has been something that I think has been misdefined as weakness. Like if you need support, you're not strong enough. But the truth is, our strength comes from support. So we work to redefine and start new families off with that support and link them to continued support after they get past the newborn stage. So we are committed to supporting new families with essential maternity, postpartum, and newborn needs, and infant feeding through the first year. And our requirements are very minimal. We're here to help everyone because we are all under resourced in our community without maternity leave and paternity leave and childcare. Um,
No
and
matter what your financial status is,
yeah,
we're all kind of needing that support and being a new parent, new mom.
absolutely. And having like family to support you. I remember one of my first clients when I took over, I had delivered her request, and her reply back was just so much gratitude. And she said, uh, thank you. You're the family. Stork Support is a family that I've never had. And I was just so touched by that. And when I was relaying that feedback to our founder, Lisa Jensen, she got really excited and said, yes, yes, that is what I want. And I was like, okay, tell me more. And she said, I really see Stork Support as the family, that rebuilding this village that we are meant to have. And she, shared with me her vision of this home that has this hygge feel, and that parents can come and feel safe and let their kids play in a safe place and network with other parents and network with other resources, and then also get the essentials that they need. Because we live in abundance. The abundance is here. It's just a matter of sharing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the founder started Stork Support, but then she ended up moving. Can you talk about how you kind of took it over and kept it going?
Yeah. So our founder, Lisa Jensen, started Stork Support in 2018 through her own birth and postpartum journey. So Soon after they welcomed their first baby home, her husband was laid off. She was feeling pretty fortunate that they had savings, that they had family and friends there to support her. But as she was, searching for free and cheap baby gear and clothes, she realized she was far from alone, and just started to gift. She's like, even though we have this hardship right now, we have the support that I feel comfortable. And so she started to take things her baby grew out of, or the abundance she had, and finding families to gift them to. And our first family, the first family that she supported, was a family with 2 toddlers, pregnant mom and husband living in their car. And that client is still with us today and still volunteers with us and does all that they can to support and give back. And so that's just kind of what started Stork Support, was Lisa just realizing that, the abundance is here, let's share it with each other. And so it started with just her running around northern Colorado during baby's nap time, put baby in the car seat, let him sleep, and she would pick up just off Facebook. She would find people saying, I have this for free, my baby grew out of it. I just needed it out of the house. And so she'd run out around northern Colorado, picking up donations and then delivering them to families that didn't have access to transportation and didn't have access, therefore, to the resources that we do have available in northern Colorado, mostly in Fort Collins. And it just kept growing to where her basement, they started off with things that she had from her baby, and then her basement started filling up with all of the abundance within the community and redistributing, having garage sale style type distribution events. And then 2020 hit in March. So she'd get about 10 requests for support items a week. And when lockdown hit, that number went to 50 in one day, as our grocery store shelves were stripped clean of diapers, wipes, and formula. Mm-hmm. And so she realized Stork Support needs to be a nonprofit to meet the community's needs. The community's needs have changed. And she also knew that Germany was calling her back home. So that Lisa's originally from Germany. And so I had found Stork Support. I was new to Windsor, Colorado, and just had become a stay-at-home mom pretty recently, and had my second child, and just was feeling lost and without friends and without purpose. And
it's a hard time, like the whole new phase of life. And
and going from running a company in New York City to being a stay-at-home mom with no family or friends in a new place, and it just it was a little bit of an identity crisis.
Sure.
And I had a friend that I met at the park, and we became close because our kiddos were about the same age. And she needed some help. She needed some baby gear, and she found Stork Support on Facebook, and she told me about it. And she's like, oh my goodness, this amazing this German woman just delivered what I needed. It was so sweet. And I was like, okay, let me check this out. And found out that, she was in Windsor too, and that we had similar heritage, her being from Germany and my family being, my dad was born in Latvia. And so we connected and we clicked, and I started volunteering, and it just gave me such purpose and such, I don't know, it was just really helpful. And I remember Lisa saying that was part of her journey too, that she was having a really hard time with postpartum depression and just not wanting to ever leave the house, or not having the motivation or the energy to leave the house, but knowing that she was helping somebody else got her out of the house. And then that got her out of that cycle, and just in such a better place. And so we connected and I started volunteering. And so we were pretty close. And she told me in 2020 that Stork Support would have to close. And I said, no, it's not. Terrible timing. But sometimes that's how fate works. I had known that I wanted to get back to work. I just knew that was part of my identity that was missing. I love being a mom. I love being a stay-at-home mom. However, it's not my full identity. And I knew that I always wanted to work in the nonprofit field. I loved what I did in New York.
They jumped right in, just
yeah, yeah,
running one, and
yeah. And so I knew I loved what I did in New York because I knew I was helping people for good. But I also like always had this like feeling in my gut, like, but it's for profit. And so it was a difficult choice, at the same time the easiest choice, to say yes to Stork Support, because it is a ton of work. I'm currently like kind of freaking out because I've run Stork Support during nap time for like the last 2 years. And now my toddler's starting to transition out of naps. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? How am I gonna do this? But I'm trusting, again, just like I trusted when I said yes to Lisa, that we've not only have we grown in what we offer and how we support our community, but we've grown in support for Stork Support as well. Our volunteer base, Lisa started, it was kind of like me and a few other moms. And, now we consistently have delivery drivers that help with our clients that don't have access to transportation. We consistently, we just had our restock donation drop-off event last weekend, and I had more volunteers than I had space for in my garage. And I was like, this is such a great problem to have. Do you mind working on the ground? And I ran out of tables. So it's scary too, and there's a lot of, I feel like, risks, but every time the risk ends up being worth it, and it all works out. So I just kind of have this mantra of, it all gets done somehow.
yeah.
And
you have a storage unit.
Yeah, so we were able to, mid 2021, we had an anonymous donor that helped us secure a storage unit. Through end of year giving, at the end of 2021, we were able to secure our annual fees for that storage unit in 2022. And through end of year giving, we've been able to do that again. And so that storage unit houses all of our event products, all of our larger gear items, such as pack and plays, strollers, and portable bassinets. It also houses all of our postpartum recovery kit products. So we have a lot of products, even though we've narrowed down in the last 3 years our product offering. It's still a lot. Like, the inventory is quite a bit. And then in my garage, we have our diapers. So we're not a diaper bank, but we're here to help fill in the gaps from our local diaper banks, as well as to help in an emergency. So all of our diapers, wipes, and then all of our maternity clothes and baby clothes are in my garage. And our emergency or essential newborn kit items are in my garage. And then our formula, we do have a formula bank, and that is housed in my basement. And that's been a big part of our shift. Is I knew that there were a lot of gaps in infant feeding. When we started in 2021, and my goal for 2022 was to launch a formal infant feeding program that included nursing support, as well as infant formula. We do have a governmental safety net for infant feeding. It's called WIC, Women, Infant, Children. However, there are a good pocket of our population that don't qualify for that benefit because it is strictly income based, not cost of living based. So you could still be spending more than half your income on housing alone here and not qualify. And when you're spending more than half your income, when you're spending more than half your income on housing, that doesn't leave much room for anything else, especially the cost of nursing support items and the cost of infant formula.
You were also explaining to me that it's challenging too because it has to be a certain size and certain brand, and
yeah,
sometimes that's not always
yeah,
that easy to find.
exactly. So I've learned a lot since 2022. So my goal was to launch it last year, and I started to notice I was having a hard time sourcing certain brands and certain types of formula as early as January. So it kicked off with a shortage of the materials to make the cans themselves. So I was seeing like, oh, I can't, like, I'm having a hard time finding powdered formula, which is the preferred because it has a higher shelf life and it's lower cost. The ready to feed, the liquid, it has a shorter shelf life, obviously, because it's already made. And then a much higher cost for that convenience of it being pre-made. And not all formula types come in ready to made. So I was like, okay, like I started to notice in January. And then in February 2022, when the Similac and EleCare recall hit, that wiped out more than half of my Stork Support's formula inventory. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to have to shift gears. But even with the shortage in May, we distributed more, like 3 times as many breast pumps as we had that since that whole year till May. And then about 3 times as much formula because we were able to take in-kind donations. That helped when I couldn't source to purchase formula. So we take in-kind donations of formula that has not expired, no dents in cans. That is, I always ensure that it's been safely handled and is safe to redistribute. But you can't, so like if you overbuy on formula and then your baby's weaned, or your baby weaned before you thought they would, and you had, they suggest you always have at least a 10-day supply so that you don't risk of having to ration formula with your baby. So say you had that 10-day supply and then your baby weaned, you cannot, most stores, I don't know of any stores that will let you return it. So I was able to take those donations and then redistribute it to families in need that still had a baby or just had a baby that was needing formula. So I learned that our WIC program is awesome, but it's also pretty restrictive because it's federally funded, and it's a big part of what contributed to the formula shortage. So we have two name brands that own 80% of the formula market. And so when one brand was recalled and then the other one was a WIC approved brand, there was already a high demand. And then when everybody was having to switch to what was available on the shelf, because this brand, was required to be available on the shelf because it's a WIC brand, it wiped the shelves clean. So the restrictions, some of the restrictions have been lifted due to the shortage. So in the past, you had to first use your WIC benefits at a WIC approved store, and also look for the WIC approved brand, and also then get the WIC approved brand in the correct WIC approved size can. Those restrictions started to open up during the height of the formula shortage, where they opened up to more sizes in certain brands. And now a lot more brands, they opened up to a lot more brands. However, in October 2022, WIC is encouraging everybody to go back to the initial WIC approved brand. So here we are now, where either you're not eligible for WIC, and we're here to help fill in the gaps, or you are eligible for WIC, you've switched to a brand that was available on the shelf,
Mhm.
And now you're going to potentially have to switch back. And it's hard, most babies can switch formulas
Mhm.
without any problems. Most can. However, even if the baby tolerates the formula well, you may have like 1 to 2 weeks where there's tummy troubles, different bowel, like just some scary things as a new parent. So it is hard to keep having to switch formulas, switch formulas, switch formulas. And I'm also a strong believer that a parent should be able to choose what they feed their baby, regardless of income. So if a WIC approved brand is not what you're choosing, we want to help support you in your infant feeding choices, because we believe you're empowered to make that choice.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I'm a fundraiser. It seems like your programs sell themselves because they help so many people. But I'm curious, have you had some fundraising success and what that looked like?
Yeah, so that is one piece that I am going to focus on, definitely increasing in 2023. In 2021, our big fundraiser was linked with Human Being, which was a great fundraiser. So they have a Fill the Cup program, where Lisa and I stood out of the Human Being, and as cars were driving through or waiting for their order, we got to talk to them. Have you heard about Stork Support? And letting them know that 10% of the sales that day were going to us, and then there was also a donation um, cup, fill the cup, uh, that they could add to, along with the 10% from their order. And that was such a great experience. It did, I think we earned 600, a little over 600 that day. But the best return on investment was our time talking to people, gaining more volunteers, because a good portion of what we do comes from in-kind donations. This baby clothes and gear is barely used. Like, let's keep it rotating. Let's keep it cycling through our community. Let's keep it out of the landfill as long as possible and in use. The baby clothes and gear sitting in your basement or garage, it doesn't have value.
Mhm.
But when it's being used for its purpose, it does. So that was a great experience. And then
It helped
most
us
of
get the word out too to
yeah,
people in the area that might not
yeah,
have heard about you.
yeah. And they're like, no, that's my, I love, I love it when I ask, have you heard about Stork Support? And the answer is no. Like, I get so excited because it's my passion and heart to talk about it. And but most of our funding comes from just people in the community that saw what Lisa was doing. She was lovingly called the Stork Lady in our community, and became known as that, and just recognized that, you know that we are better together and that we are stronger with support, and how can we help. So we do have corporate sponsors. Extract is a wonderful corporate sponsor that was with us 2022 and has committed to continue with us in 2023. And then most of our funding comes from community members. End of year giving has been a big part of why we've been able to expand our offerings. So the end of year giving that we received in 2021, I think it was like 100, like when I ran the numbers, it was 150% more diapers we distributed last year because of that.
Mhm.
Um, and 45% more formula. And so that's why the formula and nursing support piece has become so important, because there are resources out there, but it may be a sample can, it might be a hand pump, but to be able to offer a complete pumping kit for a nursing parent, all the things that you actually need if you're working and focused on supporting your baby with human milk. And then actually giving as best as we can. It's still, sourcing formula is still a struggle. The shortage is not over, but best we can, offering a month, a 10-day supply. And those sample cans do add up. Like the sample cans are feed a baby for about half a day, about 6 hours. But when I have the whole community saying, hey, this was shipped to me,
Right.
and now I have, 10 sample cans, it makes a big difference. But yeah, fundraising is something that I'm looking at, seeing how we can do more in the new year so we can continue to increase our support for the hygiene needs we have in our community. So baby soap and lotion, laundry detergent, these are huge requests because there is no governmental safety net for these items. And they are daily essential items that you need. You need laundry detergent to keep a clean home. You need baby soap to keep your baby clean. So the fundraising would definitely be a focus so that we can continue to support the hygiene needs in our community. And so that's definitely something I'm working on. But again, like as going from a, for-profit to nonprofit, it's such a learning experience. It's such a learning curve. And there's really not, I had at one point somebody ask me like, well, aren't there all these grants with COVID relief that you would qualify for? And aren't they, aren't there opportunities for funding? And I said, I'm sure there are, but I'm just as under-resourced as our clients. I always say I'm a client first. Having access to childcare and access to transportation and so that I can learn and access to education is something that I'm still working on sourcing for myself so that I can run Stork Support sustainably and in a growth pattern. But yes,
sounds like you've continued to grow and you've kept it going and stuck with it. So
yeah. So we don't have formal fundraising. We're so grassroots, but I think we'll always kind of be that way because of how that's our heart, is families helping families always.
So anybody watching this, how can they find you and how can they help?
Yeah. So our website is storksupportofnoco.com. And there you'll see Lisa's story, and as well as there's a need help page, and that's where you can request support, and as well as link to more resources in our community. And there is a give help page, and the give help page outlines all the ways that you can support us financially or in-kind donations of new items. We have an Amazon wish list. Or in-kind donations of or gently used items, and what we are able to accept for our newborn essential kits, our pumping kits, our maternity support, and newborn clothes. We also do distribution events 3 times a year. So there's items there that maybe just seasonal things that we take for a distribution event. As well as we link with Homeward Alliance 3 times a year with their family resource fairs, and we do a stuffed diaper bag drive for families with a newborn, pregnant or newborn, and a toddler transition bag that we stuff for toddlers that are going through, some tough transitions. It's hard to become a new big sibling, and it's tough to
that in my home.
Yes,
That was a big shift for sure.
Yeah, so those kind of seasonal drives, those items are listed on the need or give help page as well. And then we're on social, Facebook and Instagram, Stork Support of NoCo. And I mostly play in Insta stories. That's my happy place. So you'll see me there a lot.
Yeah, you're always providing such good information and keeping everybody up to date there. It's nice to have a real time what's going on to hear from you.
Yeah, transparent. I had a another local nonprofit leader. She gave me some great advice. She was like, be honest about how hard this is. Because the truth is, this is really hard, but it is also worth every hard step. And so that just encouraged me to like, okay, like I'm going to bring you along to, through this journey of helping others, because at the end of the day, we all have this quality in us. We can all do this. Whenever I get, oh darn, you don't take this donation, I always am encouraging of, see if a neighbor is in need. You see your neighbor pushing a stroller, ask. Or there's all of this started off with Lisa just on Facebook groups saying the need and the abundance, share. And so that's really been a key part of our Christmas program. So at the end of the year, we host our virtual angel tree. And in the past, I had Lisa's help. So we were taking in the Christmas gifts and distributing them ourselves. But last year, I knew with the increased capacity of support and families I had in my queue to help, that I just couldn't house the Christmas gifts too. So we changed our requirement that supporters would deliver the gifts as well. And we had such amazing feedback. I was very nervous because I was like, okay, I know this is different from every other angel tree program out there, and it's asking you to do more, but trust that what you get back is more. And that's the end of the year feedback that I got was absolutely confirming that, like actually getting to meet the neighbors that they were supporting, and the same, the families requesting support, getting to meet who was supporting them. It grows your heart, like Grinch. It grows your heart. So so our programs are all really around like, meet your neighbor, know that this is your neighbor that's needing help, and you have the capacity to help, and you can do this. Last year in 2022, we averaged 1.5 families being served every single day, mostly out of my garage. So if that's possible, and I still park my van in the garage, so out of half of a garage in a storage unit, we can have this impact. Like, you can do this too, and just start with one. Sometimes I struggle with comparison, because in comparison to other nonprofits in our community, I'm not even like a drop in the bucket in the number of families we serve. But I always come back to, but the family I helped today mattered.
Yeah.
And the family I help tomorrow matters. And that's really what matters. So, thinking that, well, I'm just me, I can't do this, or I don't have, like, we needed support. We became a client ourselves in 2020, when we welcomed our unplanned bundle of joy home. So it does take a lot of heart, but it doesn't take a lot of, money, or, the resources are here. You just have to open yourself up to receiving and giving. So that's another practice that I really try to communicate to our clients, that, sometimes it's hard for them to ask for help, or they say, I'm embarrassed, or I don't want to admit that I need this help. And I always tell them, I'm proud of you, and you should be proud too, because you must practice receiving in order to give, and you must practice giving in order to receive. And sure enough, the clients that, like, okay, I hear you, they come back and they donate back, and they either donate their time as a volunteer, or they donate the items that their babies cycled through and grown out of, and it just creates this, it's just magic. It's magic.
Well, I feel like we should end on that note because we can't get much better than that, right? I think you are doing such important work, and I appreciate what you bring to the community. I hope people go to your website, check you out, and whether you're somebody that is receiving help or giving help. So I think that's such a good message.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share my heart. I really appreciate you.